Hey there, EB here on the Anything But Bland weekly update. Just about getting over COVID. It was different than when I got it a couple years ago. This is now my third time I've gotten COVID. Obviously I brought it back from France. Either got it on the airplane or sometime in France. I didn't have a fever, thankfully. I did have bone aches and congestion and a dry cough. Um, Renee didn't so far, touch wood, doesn't have it, but it's serious. It lasted probably a good solid 5 6 days. So with that said, really really excited about a lot of different things that's going on. I want to talk first about baseball because the way this season is ending up is so exciting. Last night, I don't know whether Rob Manfred, the commissioner, juiced the baseballs, but it was just home run derby. Uh, m- Earlier this week, Mike Trout hit his 400th home run. He plays for the California Angels. I think he's the best five-tool baseball player. Howdy, Shaquille Oatmeal. I love that Shaquille Oatmeal. Um, I think he's the best five-tool player in baseball, hitting, throwing, running, power earlier in his career. He bulked up uh, and has basically been injured the past 5 years. Doesn't hasn't played a complete season, but he's hit his 400th home run. If he wasn't injured, he already would have had 500 home runs. He's toiling in anonymity. I think he's only made the playoff one time. They've never won a series. He's not even sniffing a division championship or uh, a pennant, which is sad. And we never get to see him because he literally is on the West Coast. So all the games are usually at 11:30 at night. And unless you're really into baseball that much, you don't see him. We don't see him too much on the East Coast. Um, Otani left the Angels, but uh, Trout never has. He's always wanted to play for the Phillies because he's a huge Phillies fan. He grew up in Camden, New Jersey, in that area, Cherry Hill, and so he loves the Phillies. But I was hoping that he was going to sign with the Phillies before um, now, but obviously he's not. He has a 10-year, like $500 million contract. Moreno, the owner of the Angels, is penurious, doesn't spend a lot of money, so it's kind of sad. We're not going to see the best of Mike Trout. But what we're seeing now between Aaron Judge, Cal Raleigh, and Otani, and a couple other players like Kyle Schwarber, is just extraordinary. Cal Raleigh is having what I consider to be the greatest single season by a catcher in Major League Baseball history. Last night he hit his 60th home run, and to give you an idea, um, Johnny Bench never hit more than 40. Carlton Fisk never hit more than 40 a year. Mike Piazza had like 46, 47. This guy's broken the record by like 13 home runs. And the catcher is the hardest position in baseball. The wear and tear on your body to squat every single pitch, 9 innings. He didn't take any time off much during the year, no injuries. You get chipped with foul balls. The temperature on some of the fields is, like 105 degrees, and you're wearing, catcher's gear and a mask. You not only have to know the idiosyncrasies and the routines and the patterns of your own pitching staff, but you got to know the hitters on opposing team and where to place yourself, on the inside part of the plate with your glove or on the outside part of your plate. Not only has he hit 60 home runs, but he's leading the league in RBIs, and um, the Mariners won their division. So I think, and it's very hard for me to say this because I am a monster Aaron Judge fan and a monster Yankees fan. And Aaron Judge has had the most amazing season that I will talk about. But if I had to vote for an MVP, I'd have to vote for the big dumper, Cal Raleigh. Uh, it, the only position I could compare it to is either quarterback in the NFL or a center in the NFL. Those are really, you're talking about some extremely difficult positions. And for him to hit 60 home runs and really not have somebody in front of him or behind him, like the Yankees, Chaz Chisholm or uh, Giancarlo Stanton, where he's not facing the greatest pitches, is extraordinary. Um, you know, you're talking about historically Yogi Berra, Pudge Rodriguez, Carlton Fish, Johnny Bench. I mean, this guy's season, and it's not over yet. He's got 4 more games. He could break Roger Maris's record and, maybe get close to Judge's record. I think Judge is like at 64 or something like that for the season in American League. Um, the Judge last night hit 2 more home runs. Okay. So now he's at 51. He's one of only 4 players, Babe Ruth, Mark McGwire, Sammy Sosa, to hit 50 or more home runs uh, in 4 times. Shohei Ohtani has 51 or 52 home runs, and he's the first person since Alex Rodriguez in 2001 to hit 50 home runs in back-to-back seasons. Um, Aaron Judge is winning the batting title. So for me, it automatically it would be an MVP season, but for Cal Raleigh, I think in the National League, I think it's Ohtani again. You're talking about a guy that's pitching scoreless innings. He's hitting home runs in an incredible clip. Kyle Schwarber for the Phillies, I think, has 54 or 55, which greatly exceeds what he's ever done in his career. I really think the ball's juiced at this time. The Phillies had 8 home runs last night. The Blue Jays are absolutely tanking right now. The Tigers are tanking right now. The hot teams are the Padres. And you can't believe what the Cleveland Guardian Indians have done to come back and win their division. It is totally extraordinary. So I wanted to start with baseball, and now I'll move back to politics and other current events. Um, the Charlie Kirk memorial service was beautiful. Um, I just fell to my knees when I heard his wife talk about forgiving the person that killed her husband. Ultimate act of grace, ultimate Christian Jesus forgiveness. Contrasting that with Trump, who got up and said, "Sorry, I hate my enemies. I'll never forgive my enemies. I'll never say anything nice about my enemies." It's just a different way of walking through life. Charlie Kirk's wife, I think, is extraordinary and shows by example the Judeo-Christian beliefs that we should live. I'm not saying that Trump is wrong. I'm like Trump in a lot of ways. If I have an enemy, very hard for me to forgive people that have wronged me, and I certainly understand why he feels wronged because he's been sued, he's been uh, uh, charged with crimes, spent huge attorney's fees, he's been impeached, he feels like he's been wrongfully attacked. So I certainly understand it. But let's not throw this totally out of proportion. When Nancy Pelosi's husband was beaten by a hammer, that was by a Trump supporter. And the jokes that the Republicans sent around, including Donald Trump Jr., of an underwear with a hammer about get your Halloween outfit, whatever Nancy Pelosi's husband's name is. So those kind of things are totally wrong. Um, any Democrat or liberal who has made statements about Charlie Kirk having this coming to him is equally wrong. I abhor them. But let's not just say that it's only the left that is making these incendiary comments. It's the right as well. Some of the people in the right. Jimmy Kimmel is back on the air. It has pissed Trump off. Trump went on a long rant. There's reasons why Disney put him back on the air. It's not only about whether he is not making a lot of money or it's profit. It enhances the Disney brand, and there's reasons for it. The Republicans early last week, when he got canned temporarily, said that Trump had or the administration had no fingerprints in this. They didn't get involved. Well, Trump just sent out a tweet yesterday that showed exactly, yeah, I tried to get Jimmy Kimmel fired. He wasn't fired. I'm going to continue to try to get him fired. So Trump said he was involved, and I'm going to try again. Um, Jimmy Kimmel's return won't solve the cultural divide that is exists in this country, but it has created some strange bedfellows. Ted Cruz and Joe Rogan, who are big free speech guys, who are big guys that government shouldn't get involved in, even hate speech. Remember, I talked last week about speech is protected as long as it doesn't present a clear and present danger. Can't yell fire in a theater. Can't put people's health, welfare, and safety at risk. But Joe Rogan said that this is a crazy thing because, Republicans are not always going to be in control. There could come a time when Democrats come back into control. And if the Republicans are going to start censoring and threatening licenses of stations, well, the first thing that Democrats going to do is threaten the license of Fox News, because everything on Fox News is anti-Democrat, just like everything on CNN is anti-Trump. So you got to be careful. Life's a circle. It's a full circle, and every road comes back up to your ass. So you can't stay in power forever, and things that you do today that you think are benefiting you could be to your detriment and harm later on. So the strange bedfellows that we're seeing, Ted Cruz says that, listening to Brendan Carr, the FCC chairman, say that, if you don't toe the line and you don't stop, criticizing this administration, you'll put your license at risk. He said sounded like, like a mafia don. Yeah, it sure did. So I applaud Ted Cruz for that. Guys, let's not lose sight of what has happened. In the first 8 months of this administration, Trump has gone after universities, which I agree in part, for their anti-Semitism and permitting the Antifa and anti-Israel sentiment to endanger education of kids. He's gone after law firms who have represented interests against him or assisted in the government in prosecuting some of the cases that involve the Trump enterprise. I disagree with that. He's gone after cities and said that, he was going to take away their funding if they didn't participate in, rounding up illegal immigrants or on crime issues, which I do agree on. That there is a place for the federal government to assist cities in getting rid of crime. And he's gone after companies now, private companies, by saying, look, if you don't get rid of people, I'm going to sue you. Obviously, he got $16 million when George Stephanopoulos said that he raped Eugene Carroll instead of the jury finding that he committed sexual assault on her. But he said he's going to go after ABC, he's going to go after Disney. And that is an express intent to chill dissent. Is this the start of a pushback by Ted Cruz, by Joe Rogan? Will this continue? Trump has injected himself in every aspect of our lives. He's told the Washington Redskins, unless you change your name, the Commanders, back to the Redskins, you're not going to get the funding to rebuild the RFK Stadium in Washington, D.C., so you can move back. It is not just public policy, but current events, whether it's the Kennedy Center or Dancing with the Stars and things like that. He's now targeting his enemies by name. He's targeted Adam Schiff. He's targeted James Comey. He's targeted Letitia James. He's targeted John Bolton. He's targeted John Brennan. This is dangerous, and he's now firing U.S. attorneys that he appointed, Republican appointees that he appointed. He's firing them because they're not bringing charges. He fired the one in Eastern District of Virginia and put in his place his own personal attorney, so that she's now going to bring charges against James Comey for allegedly committing perjury in Congress against in 2020. There's a 5-year statute of limitations, and that runs out next Tuesday. So don't be surprised if there's perjury charges brought against James Comey. And I do not believe those perjury charges will be successful. I don't think you can prove that he had an intent to lie. Let me tell you something. I'm 63 years old. I absolutely love my country. If you come to my house, I have flags all over the front. I have flags in the back of my dock. Um, I love being an American. I love every part of it. I don't want to move. I don't think there's a better country in the world. But like Angelina Jolie said earlier this week, I don't recognize my country. It's different than when I was a kid and most of my adult life. I'm seeing and hearing things that are so strange to me, that are so unusual, that are things that we would study in school with autocratic regimes. Um, People are cautious of what they're saying anymore, and they're cautious of what they're writing. Um, I get criticized all the time. I get hate speech all the time directed at me. Don't like it, doesn't feel good, but I'm not reporting somebody to the police, and I'm not going to sue somebody over the right to call me an asshole or to say I don't know what I'm talking about. That's their opinion. It's fine. Everybody's got one. They're like assholes. They all stink. But that is what creates discussion and discourse and dissent in our country. Um, so Trump has said that the newscasters and now comedians who don't say nice things about him are committing crimes. Not that they're exercising their speech right, they're committing crimes. He claims that 92 to 97% of the stories about him are negative, except it was commissioned by the conservative wing of the Republican Party. So this wasn't truly a objective empirical test. Um, the UN, I totally agreed with Trump's speech. I liked when he said to all these other countries, your countries are going to hell. The open borders throughout Europe has really hurt the cultural and historical aspect of a lot of major cities like London and Paris. I saw it in Paris. I saw what immigration has done in Paris. There is, just uh, almost Parisians are in the minority compared to the number of immigrants are coming in. The way that they're uh, running these countries, Trump took off against the London mayor. So, what good did it do for um, them to give him that state welcome like he was royalty last week? And he torched England and France on climate and the Paris Accords and all these different things. But I totally agree with a lot of what he said. I think it's a little bit comical. He's now wants to bring some kind of action against the UN because he claimed that they stopped the elevator as he was going up with his wife Melania, and he almost tripped, which is not funny. They say it was because his security detail pressed the button. He claims that they sabotaged um, his teleprompter. The UN claims that the teleprompter is run by Trump's speechwriters, so that he had to read his speech and that there was audio problems. So he said, "I want that investigated." So we're going to investigate that. Um, Joe Rogan said the following: I definitely don't think that the government should be involved ever in dictating what a comedian can or cannot say in a monologue. He said, you don't think that these globalist lizard people who run the world are sitting here going, great, what do we got? 3 years? We'll wait this out. We'll wait this out. Yeah, yeah. Let them say the government should be involved in censoring people's speech. What goes around comes around. Republicans will not be in power forever. That was from Joe Rogan this week. Um, President Xi told a UN climate conference that his country would seek to reduce emissions by at least 7 to 10% by 2035. That's a good thing because China does contribute to much, much, much of the world's pollution. Um, Interesting this week that Trump had gotten very aggressive against Russia, not putting the United States dollars behind it or United States military or anything, but he told European countries, Poland and Romania, where Russia had their planes fly in their airspace, and it wasn't by accident. These are fighter jets, and they went deep into their territory. He said that NATO should shoot them down. Very aggressive. He also said that he believes that Ukraine can win the war, and supposedly that Putin's government's about to fall. Economically, they don't have any money, and militarily, they're losing. Um, so that was a very interesting thing that he said. Um, Again, I just was floored by the amazing poise and grace of Erica Kirk. He said that she said that she will go on now and become the CEO of Turning Point. I think Turning Point provides a important function on college campuses to get the countervailing views of the liberals. I'm worried though that Turning Point said that they will implement their Christian vision of the United States. Three different places in the Constitution it says we separate church and state. Elon Musk apparently had uh, a softening of the harshness with his relationship with Trump. He sat next to him at the funeral for a little bit while it was going on during the 6 hours of speakers. Um, he hugged Erica Kirk. Um, he said, if we don't hang together, we will surely hang separately. So let us unite. He said, I was proud to sit with the president tonight. Um, Interesting thing about Elon Musk's father, you should do some research. Of the 10 children that his father had, either stepchildren or adopted children, 5 of them have claimed, both boys and girls, that he was sexually harassed, sexually assaulted by Elon Musk's father. Um, Evidently, the Fox News, this is a Fox News poll of registered voters, showed that there's widespread concern regarding the state of the U.S. economy, with 71% viewing it negatively. That is up from only 30% in the spring. They are worried about rising inflation from the tariffs. They're worried about the increased grocery costs that they're seeing. The anemic job growth is causing a financial strain. Um, Trump's approval rating has just absolutely gone through the floor, where he had a high 54% approval rating just 3 months ago on the economy. It's now down to 39% approval rating. Um, this is the kind of petulant behavior. Evidently, there's a wall of fame of all the presidents' photos in the White House. Trump took down Biden's photo and put a signature of him with the auto pen. This is the kind of bullshit that's got to stop, okay? This is the kind of elementary schoolyard bully shit. It ain't bully shit. Trump ain't going to come to your face. If he does, punch him in the face, kind of thing. That he's not willing to do that. When he gets together, if you notice, with people that he has hammered on, he's really nice to their face until he goes out of the room. I'm very upset. It's disrespectful to the office of the presidency. Texas A&M president, who was a four-star general and a former Army chief of staff, was forced to resign because of his support of some of the anti-Charlie Kirk statements that took place. And I want to say this once and for all. Shame on that lapdog, that loser of a man, Lindsey Graham, who said that Donald Trump should get a third term as president of the United States. That son of a gun is a lawyer, okay? He was a lawyer in the JAG Corps. He knows what the Constitution says. It's that kind of bullshit statements by a politician that's supposed to be respected that's going to create turmoil in our elections in 2028. John Thune, thankfully, said that he disagreed with Lindsey Graham's statement that the Constitution's clear. Dana Bash interviewed John Thune yesterday. Congress is out at this time, and John Thune was asked, what do you think about all these statements that Trump is making, and the vitriol and the threats that he's doing about threatening district attorneys if they don't prosecute his enemies? And John Thune, tap danced around it and said, well, we got to separate the rhetoric from the reality. Is this Trump just spitting off, but not doing anything? No, you got to stamp this shit down. When somebody starts saying that we can have 3 terms for the president of the United States, that's against the Constitution. I mean, Republicans, Anton Scalia, the former Supreme Court justice, is probably rolling in his grave. He was an original intent guy. Uh, if you want somebody to have 3 terms, change the Constitution, get 37 states to ratify it, and then go through the constitutional process of changing it. Um, the Nexstar and Tegna, they are not going to uh, go along with this Jimmy Kimmel stuff because they have mergers that they want the FCC to approve. So that's a really big deal. Um, and that's what's influencing a lot of these cancellations of people like Jimmy Kimmel and Stephen Colbert, and they're threatening Jimmy Fallon. They need the waiver for these mergers because they're going to own more than 39% of the stations. Um, Good for Putin. Putin said even though that the nuclear arms treaty with the United States has expired, they're going to stick to it for at least 1 more year after it expires. I agree on that. Um, the judge strikes Trump's $15 billion lawsuit against the New York Times, said that his complaint that was written like a novel needs to be slimmed down. It needs to comply with the rules and not have such inflammatory or scandalous type of material in it. That was interesting. Again, I said Trump's approval rating has fallen to its lowest level amongst women. It's 34%. When he got elected and at his inauguration, his approval rating on women was 54%. You can't lose women. You can't lose a lot of your core support. Also, the youth that supported Trump, he's lost 28%. That is going to be a bellwether sign for the midterm elections. Um, Democrats picked up another seat last week, which is huge. The margin in the House is going down. So look for Trump to do something to delay or interfere with the midterm elections so that the House and possibly the Senate don't flip. Um, I'm sick and tired of former Vice President Kamala Harris. The stuff that she's writing in her book, saying that she didn't think that Joe Biden should have run again, as he indicated before he stepped aside. Where was she when all this happened? She was in the room. Why didn't she show profound courage and stand up? Why isn't it that who now said that she saw signs of cognitive slipping, why didn't she step forward and bring this to the attention to the cabinet? So I hate it when people after the fact try to change and go along with something that they didn't go along with when they didn't have the courage to speak up. Um, what Trump's doing, firing these U.S. attorneys that he has appointed, is a clear interference with the independence of the Justice Department. Um, Failure to charge your enemies teeters on interfering with the independence of the Attorney General's office and the U.S. Attorney's office. And it just goes to show how far Trump is going to exercise this kind of personal control over these institutions. What U.S. attorneys might be next. Trump now is raising the price for the HB1 visas to $100,000 for foreign workers. Some others are going to be $1 million and $2 million. It's certainly going to raise a lot of money. Corporations will have the money to pay for it, but individuals won't have the money to pay for it. Another bombshell came out this week, but we haven't really talked about it, and that is because there has been so much news. But Tom Homan, who is the border czar for the Trump administration, last September, now he wasn't a governmental official yet, he was advising Trump, took a bag of $50,000 of cash from undercover FBI agents, and they wanted to go forward with an investigation and possible prosecution. This was in order for companies to get border contracts if Trump won, because Trump already indicated that Homan was going to be his man for the border. And the Trump administration shut that investigation down. $50,000 in cash. Shame on England, France, Canada, and Australia for recognizing Palestine as a state. This is only going to further exasperate the situation. Netanyahu, with the blessing of Trump, excoriated these countries at the UN during his speech earlier this week, vowed Netanyahu that he's going to retaliate against these countries. I think it's going to endanger the existence of Israel, and it's going to constitute a reward for terrorism. The Harvard researcher who studied about Tylenol's effects on pregnant women, that was the underpinning to Trump's warning on Monday regarding expecting mothers during their pregnancy not to use Tylenol. He was an expert witness for lawsuits against the manufacturer of Tylenol. And he was ripped, and I mean ripped, by a federal judge for his unreliable and sloppy work. What the vaccine panel says is they recommended that women be careful about their use of Tylenol while they're pregnant. It's very dangerous to have a fever if you're pregnant. It could cause birth issues, premature birth, miscarriages. It can cause birth defects if you run a high fever. What they're talking about is long-term sustained Tylenol use of an everyday basis. They said, consult with your physician. Trump went further. Trump went further in his speech and said, do not use Tylenol. I think it's a reckless thing. It's highly dubious when politicians or lawyers like me speak on medical issues. I mean, what the hell do we know? That's why we have doctors. That's why we have scientists. That's why we have medical researchers spouting, Trump weighing in on every single frickin' things in our life, that he knows more than the generals, or he knows more than Hollywood, or he knows more than politicians. He knows more than judges. He knows more than this, and he knows more than the doctors. Can we just respect the people that get degrees and spend their life studying this stuff? I'm just shocked that all of a sudden now Tylenol is the boogeyman when it was vaccines by Robert Kennedy and Trump for the last 20 years that are causing autism. To me, I think it's time that we go after Kennedy and these people who are making these outrageous, ridiculous statements that are not doctors. Trump said, look, don't take Tylenol, tough it out. That's what he actually said. Those are his words. Don't say Eric's just ad-libbing. That's what he told pregnant women to do. Just tough it out when you got a fever. Are you kidding me? Tough it out? Being pregnant is hard enough. That we're heading for a government shutdown to the point that the Office of Management Budget today told different departments that unless your funding has already been given, you should shut down different parts of your departments. Trump was supposed to meet with Schumer and Hakeem Jeffries today. He turned them down. The government's going to shut down on Tuesday. The big issue is the expiration of the subsidies for Obamacare and some other different important programs. It does look like that the Senate is not going to yield on this, the Democrats, and we are going to get a shutdown. Ryan Roof, the scumbag who tried to come up with a plan to execute or assassinate President Trump while he was golfing last year, was convicted on all 5 accounts. You don't have to actually fire a bullet to be found guilty of intent to assassinate the President of the United States. He tried to stab himself with a pen when the jury verdict came in. Good for him. He's a frickin' loser. The Democrat James Walkinshaw emerged victorious in Virginia's 11th congressional district. That's the canary in the coal mine, folks. This was filling the seat left vacant by Gerald Connolly, who died of esophageal cancer earlier this year. The Republicans thought they could win that seat. Last Friday, though, the House passed the stopgap bill and they left town so that they don't have to come back and negotiate. Now I want to talk about that there were a number of deaths. Obviously, Ken Dryden, who was the great goalie for the Montreal Canadiens when they last were Stanley Cup champions, a dynasty in the 70s, he died. Bernie Perron, who was the goalie of the Philadelphia Flyers, the Broad Street Bullies, my team, with Bobby Clark, Rick McLeish, Don Sutton, all these big players for the Flyers during their run at the Stanley Cup. He died. Leroy Jordan, who was an interior lineman for the Dallas Cowboys during the era when it was Roger Staubach and Tom Landry, he died. There was a roller coaster, the new roller coaster at Universal Epic. A man died. I guess he got whiplash from blunt force trauma, maybe snapped his neck. I've already talked about the Magistrate Gosnell in Charleston on some tweets this week. He's a magistrate. He's now, like RJ May, charged with forced admission of having sex, licking and penetrating 3-month-old babies or 3-year-old kids in their anus, in their genital areas. This freaking sick monster needs swift, needs harsh justice. I mean, it's time we castrate these people, okay? This is beyond a pedophilia. This is a sickness, and this man is sitting in judgment of other people. This man is hearing, very important stuff. This is the people's judges. They hear restraining orders, neighbors fighting neighbors, husbands coming after ex-wives and setting bond and different things like this, the everyday type of interactions that cause crimes. This man is supposed to be Solomon-like, and this is what he's doing. This is what RJ May is doing, the head of the conservative group coalition in the House at South Carolina legislature. It's a disgrace, okay? I'm sick and tired of lawyers and politicians or judges doing these kind of things. I know it's in every walk of life, but these people are supposed to stand for something, have some kind of higher morality. The Grammy-winning country singer died with his wife, beautiful wife and daughter, in a plane crash. I mean, come on, man. This is just crazy. We're losing people left and right. Asia Wilson won the MVP again, won co-defensive player of the year in WNBA. She's going deep into the playoffs right now. She is a 4-time MVP, 3-time defensive player of the year. Her team is a 2-time champion, could be 3 times, 7-time All-Star. She won Rookie of the Year. She has won the Olympic gold medal. She is going to go down as the greatest female basketball player of all time. And Dawn Staley called this when she was recruited from Heathwood High School. Davis, my son, knows her well. They went to school together. Dawn said, "You will become the greatest female basketball player of all time," when she was being recruited by Duke. She wanted to go to either Duke or UNC. That was her dream, and obviously Connecticut. And Dawn said, "We will build a program around you." And she was the difference. Getting Asia is the difference, and that's where and why the USC girls basketball program is where it is today. Let's talk about football. Mike Gundy was fired as coach of Oklahoma State, longest running FBS Power 5 job holder. They paid him off $15 million. He's the guy that had the mullet, and he said some incredible fun things at the thing. He and Dabo Swinney are under incredible pressure. He got fired. Dabo fired his mouth off last week. I'm a Clemson fan, but Dabo saying that, he's being persecuted, and if you don't like wins, then fire me. Dabo is been a major disappointment in the last 5 years as a football coach. As a man, he's a great guy, but as a football coach, people need to start questioning Dabo's acumen on recruiting, how he runs a team, how he runs the NIL, transfer portal. I get loyalty, but he has not hired the right assistant coaches. He only hires from within, and he's got a smart ass mouth that he needs to curb, and he needs to be grateful that he's the third highest paid coach in football at $11 million a year. His buyout's like $60 million, so he's never going to be fired, nor should he be fired. But he needs to change his way. Billy Napier's going to be fired. It's not a question, is he on the hot seat? He is. He's, for all intents and purposes, going to be fired. He has failed at Florida. Connor Shaw, the former quarterback at USC, passed out on the field, had to be given CPR in Greenville by an EMS person. He was discharged, thankfully. Don't know if it was a heart issue or some kind of anxiety issue, but I wish him nothing but the best. Bruce Pearl is retiring as the basketball coach of Auburn. Did something I thought was pretty slimy. Retired on the first day of the season. He could have done this last spring, but he did it in a way that he made sure that his son would get the job, and his son did get the job, signed a 5-year contract. Bruce Pearl is going to run for Senate, possibly of Alabama, because Tommy Tuberville, the former Auburn football coach, wants to run for governor, and he wants to run for his seat. I'm not a big Bruce Pearl fan, even though he's Jewish. He was run out on a rail from Tennessee. He lied to the NCAA investigators. I'm just not a big fan of his. Jackson Dart is going to take over and start for the New York Giants. Had a great preseason. Russ Wilson has been benched. They signed him to a $10 million contract, which was stupid on the part of the Giants. Russ has not been good for a number of years. He's a 10-time All-Pro, Super Bowl winner, certainly had Hall of Fame credentials before his failed 2 years at Denver, and then last year at Pittsburgh, and failed here at the Giants. I've never heard of a player playing himself out of the Hall of Fame, but Russ Wilson could be the first. I would have said 3 years ago he's a surefire first ballot Hall of Famer. Right now, he may have just played his way out of the Hall of Fame. Former Bengals running back and Auburn star Rudy Johnson unfortunately committed suicide this week at 45 years old. I just am sad about football players. It's questioned that he had CTE, which is the concussion syndrome, and depression. But all these football players have not figured out a way, a majority of them, to transition from football to life. And that's a really big problem. Baker Mayfield is doing an amazing job in the NFL right now. He was a cast-off from the Browns to the Rams to the Panthers, and he is a winner. He has shown that he can change. Daniel Jones is 3-0. They call him Danny Dimes for the Indianapolis Colts. He benefited from going to the Vikings after the Giants cut him last year. He's the Sam Darnold feel-good comeback player of the year story this year if he can keep it up. Jalen Hurts and my Birds, man. They pulled it out. They blocked the punt. Jordan Davis ran it back from field goal for a touchdown against the Rams on Sunday. He actually got up to 19.8 miles per hour, a guy that's 325 pounds. Jalen Hurts, all he does is win. Okay, the Eagles have won 18 straight games, 13 straight home games. He finds a way to win when the team needs him. Josh Allen is having a tremendous year. Lamar Jackson's off. The Ravens are 1-2. Justin Herbert is having a great year. The Chargers are 3-0, and Jim Harbaugh, all he does is win. You may not like him, but everywhere he's gone, he's been a winner, whether it's Stanford, whether it's Michigan, he won the title there, whether it's for the 49ers and now with the Chargers. All he does is win. Major League Baseball approved the use of robot umps next year if there's a question on balls and strikes. I totally agree with it. It's a great way to get it right. So now let's turn to some of the questions we have. I've talked about Charlie Kirk and political violence. The rhetoric's got to stop. We got to stop. It's okay for comedians to joke about Donald Trump and joke about Eric Bland, but don't joke about assassinations or people getting killed. Okay, that's not funny. I don't like what Jimmy Kimmel said, but I will fight to the death for his right to say it. Um, you know, people have to be careful now. I mean, yesterday we had ICE officials, two ICE officers shot dead. Somebody went and tried to shoot up an ICE office in Texas. It's got to stop. This shit has got to stop. And it's both sides. It's not just Trump. It's the Omars who are in there, the AOCs, the Bernie Sanders. We got to stop talking in demeaning fashion. You can disagree. It's okay. But you don't have to like somebody. You don't have to love somebody. But it's essential that we respect people. Um, it's a national reflection, I think, on where our country is heading at this time. Um, I saw Black Rabbit, which is unbelievable. Jason Bateman did an unbelievable job. It's on Netflix. Watch it. I saw the most chilling Holocaust movie called The World Will Tremble. It's on Prime. Um, I learned some things that I didn't realize in there. I think it rivals Schindler's List. Before they came up with the gas chambers, the Germans would pile the people into the back of a closed end truck and turn the exhaust hose into the back of the truck so that they could asphyxiate on carbon monoxide. Um, I really think that you know, we're moving in the wrong direction of our country. I think Angelina said it best that she doesn't recognize our country. I am extremely concerned about what Netanyahu's going to do in Gaza and what he's planning on taking over the West Bank. I think we're going to head for the biggest intifada ever if he does this, and Trump is seems to support it, and it makes me difficult for me as a Jew to continue to support Israel when Israel is doing these unnecessary things. Um, Debbie Demeter said, "I love your weekly recaps. I only always get to catch it live because I'm at work. Question for you: what are your thoughts on the Florida surge in general, ending all childhood vaccines? I think the guy's an idiot. Okay, don't leave it up to the parents. I think we're going to see a resurgence of polio, of mumps and measles like we're seeing. I think the guy is a joke, and I think he's just pandering to the hard right who are going to ultimately vote for him if he decides to run for governor when DeSantis steps down. I think it's so dangerous for these people who have never practiced medicine or treated patients to be talking about things that are beyond the pale. From Amanda Linville Pellegrino, but I thought in state of South Carolina, drones are considered an invasion of property and anything discovered cannot be used. That is true. You have to be careful not to invade somebody's uh, private by showing stuff in a bedroom. But if you're outside your property, meaning your house and in your back lawn, you don't have a right of privacy. So there needs to be some uh, clear definition on what drones can do. Learned this week that, whenever, and they did this in France. In France, there's so many mopeds and motorcycles that when you're in traffic, they go in between the lanes of the cars, in and out, and in front of you and behind you, and in and out. South Carolina, that's illegal. We also just went into a hands-free telephone law September 1st, so people should realize that. Um, Catherine Cooper Lips said the Hulu murder show. Are you and Mark Tinsley going to be represented? Who's playing me? Um, I do not know. Um, I don't know. I know Mandy's going to be huge in that. She was a producer. It's coming out October 15th. I'm so proud of her and so happy for her. But I don't even know if I'm mentioned in it. And I certainly don't know if anybody's playing me. And I don't know, I can't imagine that Mark Tinsley wouldn't be in it, or me, and my partner Ronnie Richter for the financial crimes, but that may not be what they're focusing on. So I'll just have to wait and see. I've never asked Mandy or David if we're a part of it. Casey Odell said thoughts on the abrupt resignation of South Carolina Ports Authority CEO Barbara Melvin. I did not know that. I didn't know she resigned. Casey, send me a private email and let me know what's going on with that. Um, Lady Mahia said, we're trying to solve autism, which I think is great. We need to try to deal with it because there are many different aspects of being autistic, whether it's a full debilitating or you're functioning, whether it's ADD, ADHD. I think it's a good thing. But I just really think that we should be careful about coming to conclusions without the medical community backing them. And thank God for the insurance companies. Okay. Thank God for the insurance companies who are saying, I don't care what these politicians are going to do. We're going to cover your vaccinations. If you want these vaccinations, we're going to cover you because it's going to be a cost saving measure for insurance companies if they support vaccinations. Catherine Lipp asked us again about the Hulu thing. I mentioned that. I don't know, like you, what it's going to be, but I can't wait to watch it, and I know it's going to be good. Um, Closing, everybody, I would appreciate you going to YouTube. Uh, if you want to watch my updates or go for previous updates, they're there. I'm getting close to YouTube giving me a ranking, so that I can focus on it more. So I appreciate everybody supporting me in this. You could go to my firm's website at www.blamrichter.com. Remember, I'm a full-time practicing lawyer. Business litigation, catastrophic personal injury litigation, and suing lawyers. That's what we do. We've been doing it. I've been doing it for 37 years. And if you want the Anything But Bland book, it's available on Amazon. I speak every week to different Rotary Clubs. Yesterday, I spoke to the Lancaster, South Carolina Rotary Club. About 75 people showed up, sold about 25 to 31 books. It was just a great day. So everybody have a great week. Be safe. I love you. Okay, I respect you. Be proud that we're Americans. Be proud that we stand up for each other. EB out.